Hi, I'm Andy and welcome to Pew Pew Crew. Today we're doing our first ever review of an airsoft site, and that is at Rift Site 3. So you can safely know that we have no affiliation to them and we've never been there before unless we stated, but that's just for the record. So with our first ever review, we went down to Rift. Rift actually has 3 sites. They have Redcon 2, they also have the Bomb Dump. Now the thing is with those sites, I've never been to them, but Rift Site 3 is a bit different. It is much closer to where I am. It is just south of Daventry and north of Banbury, just a stone's throw away from the M40. Rift Site 3 was actually, used to be RAF Chipping Warden, and the site itself is quite dilapidated from what it used to be, but there are still structures around which make it a great airsoft site. But let's get straight into the review now, and we're going to start off with location. So location wise, as just previously stated, it's just outside of Chipping Warden, because it used to be RAF Chipping Warden. It is a stone's throw away from the M40, and I will have an image up of how it looks on Google Maps, because yes, really good news. It is really easy to find, unlike a lot of other airsoft sites can be. It is very easily accessible via Google Maps. Now when you get to the site, you are met by a current situation which they're currently facing, which is actually the site is fighting against HS2, yes, the train line. So you do have to go over that at the moment. A little bit more information about that later, but otherwise great that it's really easy to find. Now unfortunately the site is a little bit marred by the fact that they are fighting HS2 at the moment, because parking is unfortunately abysmal. Now I can't blame them for this, but because our reviews are done on how it appears when we visit, not what it's going to be like, unfortunately this has had a slight negative effect on the score. And this is because it has an effect on accessibility. So in any case of an emergency, like let's say I had to leave because of a medical emergency, a family emergency, if I'm right at the back of the car park, which you'll see in the images and a video that hopefully I'll have overlaid, I'm going to be screwed. So for this, they scored a 6 out of 10. Now we move on to booking an online presence. Now, for the record, one of my friends who is in the Pew Pew Crew actually plays at Rift quite often. It is one of his most regular sites, but I'd never been there. I knew him from another site. So he booked for us. But what I did is I did go through the whole entire process of what it would be for me to book myself if I had done. And I gotta say, awesome, really well laid out site. All the FAQs and information you need to know is easily and readily available on their own Rift website, which is I believe riftairsoft.com or .co.uk. I will have a link in the description to that. The information on there is endless. Anything you want to know about the site, what you're going to experience, and that goes for all 3 of their sites, including Redcon 2 and the Bomb Dump. Can't complain there. I'm very picky when it comes to information available to me, so I know what to expect when I get there, site rules, FPS rules, what pyros you can use, etc. So really good. Now, one thing I will say is the site is a bit dated. It looks like it actually probably belongs on Windows XP and not in current days and times. But otherwise, that it is fantastic. And what I also really like is they have a very good social media presence. They post a lot on Instagram, posting photos of all the games they do, which is obviously very nice of us with a slight bit of an ego. But nonetheless, really good. Give them a solid 9 out of 10. Moving on to the safe zone and staging area, unfortunately again, HS2 comes back to bite us again. Unfortunately, because of the parking situation, which I would have put in a video and an overlay just previously, but I will have some images again here. It is very crammed. Your safe zone and your staging area is actually the same area as your parking because of the HS2 situation. Now, that being said, even though that does deduct points, the actual area itself is pretty good considering they've been forced there. So they do have 2 toilets, so you can go to do your doo-doos and peace and quiet, but also they do have hot and cold drinks. They have a shop there for pyros, BBs, gas. They also had this awesome little shop which is White Sphere Tactical, which I believe is run by a number of marshals and members of staff from the site. And I have to say, all of the people that I met while I was there were absolutely fantastic, really friendly, really inviting, and gave me a great expectation as to what I was going to get throughout the game day. So based on these circumstances, it is a 6 out of 10 again. Now we're getting into some of the more interesting bits. I'm going to start off with the briefing. Some briefings can be an absolute drone, no fun for anyone. You're just listening to someone just telling you not to be an idiot, or don't do this and don't do that, and you just feel like you're being told off. Now, before going to Rift, I was told that the briefings were legendary because they were apparently really long. However, I disagree. I thought it was a perfect length. The briefing was actually led by the site manager, or site owner, what do you want to call him, a guy called Tony, and I have to say it was the best briefing I have ever witnessed. Tony obviously loves Airsoft, and he is incredibly passionate about the sport and about running the Rift sites. And I've got to say, everything he did was incredibly contagious. And by that, what I mean by that is that when he speaks, you can tell he loves what he does and he enjoys it. He was happy, and that is contagious because it made me want to go out and enjoy the day. Now, all the information he gave was relevant. It was to the point. He didn't waffle on. So I've got to say, best ever briefing I've ever seen, and that's after going to dozens of sites around the UK. Fantastic. Didn't expect to give this on my first run. 10 out of 10. The next point is an area where some of the other guys in the Pew Pew crew think I can be really harsh, and that's marshals. And that's because I believe a marshal can make or break your game day. It can actually make or break whether or not someone who is going to get into Airsoft and is coming to a site for the first day, it could actually make them never want to play Airsoft again. So making sure a marshal is up to scratch is incredibly important. Now, that being said, I'm not obviously the marshal police. I can't come in and tell them how to do their job, but I think we all know what I mean when I say dictator. Anyway, the marshals at Rift Site 3, anything but. Again, I've got to say, these were probably some of the best marshals that I've ever come across. From the moment I turned up on site and started talking to members of staff, just in general conversation and just signing in, to getting out on site, the marshals were absolutely stellar. Not only did they greet me like I was a friend I hadn't seen in many, many years, and they were happy to give me information and point me in the right direction and tell me what objectives I had to do and how best to attack the site or do this or do that. Everything was told to me with genuine courteousness, and that for me made me just enjoy the rest of the day. It made me want to go out, enjoy the game, play well, get involved in teamwork and play fair. And that is what you want from an Airsoft marshal. Not only that, they were around taking photos of the site. They were always nearby if you had a complaint or a query. I'll have pictures up. You'll see there's always someone nearby. 10 out of 10 again. I can't believe it, but I was expecting to be really harsh. I was worried I was going to be really harsh in my reviews, but to give 2 10 out of 10s, well, Rift deserves it, 100%. So now we move on to the game area. The game area is split into 2 parts, long range and CQB. If you want to know a bit more about how we do break this down, please watch the video in the description, which details how we break down reviews. Now, for long range, it was pretty fantastic because as I am a bolt action sniper rifle user, which I use 99.9% of the time, you do get worried that some sites may be a bit too CQB, forcing you to use your sidearm a bit too much. At the end of the day, you have a bolt action sniper rifle or a DMR or some form of long range weapon, you want to use it as much as possible, not your sidearm. What was great was there was a decent amount of cover and undulating land, which made the area feel really varied. And I never once felt I was at a handicap on site, but at the same time, I never felt like I had the upper hand. And that's what you want. You want a varied site where you can get a good differentiation of play. So I was really, really pleased with that. What I felt was really nice was some areas where there was a lot of open areas and gaps where I could set up and obviously offer overwatch or maybe defend from a distance. But there was also areas where I could creep and get around people, flank. It offered a great varied game area. So now moving on to the CQB portion of the play area, my good friend Trev, who plays with us in the Pew Pew Crew, gave us his verdict on this. What he really loved was, again, the undulating and varied land, but what he also loved was that there was these buildings which were quite closely knit together just outside the parade area, and that gave a real opportunity to not just play in open woodland, which can be quite long distance at points in time, especially it can be very difficult for AEGs at times. It gave you a total twist, a total variation on the gameplay, giving you that CQB factor. So overall, we gave the score for the play area a 17 out of 10. The reason we gave it a slight deduction was because there were some areas which maybe were just a bit too open woodland only. We would like to maybe see in the future maybe a few more waist high or shoulder high, maybe fortifications around some more of the back side of the area. But otherwise, really, really good. We think 17 out of 10 for this site is a real good score. So now moving on to the game. So again, like with the play area, we split this up into CQB and into long range. The reason we do this is because obviously games can vary in enjoyment and engagement depending on what kind of loadout you're playing, like if you're playing a sniper versus someone using an SMG. So the games we played on the day included like a bomb rush, where it was one team were defending, one team were attacking, and we flipped that after lunch. We did a form of domination, but every game we played throughout the day, all the rules were really well explained by the marshals. What I really liked was at the start of each game, you were taken to a respawn, and the respawn would have a map of the site on it, which they allowed you to see where you're playing. They also had objectives which you were able to move around, and the marshals explained to you the best ways to attack, which is another great reason why the marshals were fantastic. But it also allowed you to know how the site was laid out. So obviously, as someone who was playing there for the first time, I thought it was a really nice touch. So obviously, first timers there, whether new to Airsoft or new to the site, really, really nice touch. What was also great was because of the games we played, they were obviously telling us where to attack and where to go. They were also able to tell us the best opportunities to attack based on what loadout we were running. So, for example, when we were playing the bomb rush, I was able to get in a really nice position covering a flank and the objective. And the way the sun was coming in on that day, it made it really hard to see me, and I was able to give great cover to the team of CQB style players who were just over a ridge where the enemy team were trying to flank around, and you could actually see the image actually in the thumbnail is of me in that position at the time where one of the marshals took a picture of me, and I was able to sit there for basically the entirety of that game and just pick people off. It was fantastic and I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel out of place. And the same can be said for CQB. So again, I asked my good friend Trev, and he basically said the same thing. What was great, especially like to use that game as an example again, where the objectives were, he didn't feel like you had a massive upper hand. There was opportunities for the enemy team to flank and to push around, but teamwork obviously played a massive part in us doing well in this game. But he felt that the varied area and the areas we were playing at the time were really well utilised. So we gave this a strong 18 out of 20. Finally, we move on to cost and other. So the cost of the game day itself actually cost £30 for a walk-on. Now, if you remember, you do get it slightly cheaper, but we're doing this on the basis, obviously, that this is a first-time site visit, and this is obviously going to be for people who have been to the site before, maybe people who are new to Airsoft and want to try it out. So £30 for a walk-on only is on the more expensive side. Our sites I've been to, £30 is the most expensive I've ever paid to go to a site, and that is £30 at the time of this recording. Now, with that, you do get a great game day. You do get some of the best marshals that I've ever witnessed. The site is a really nice site to play. Don't get me wrong, there's places for it to obviously improve, but it is a really good Airsoft site nonetheless. But I would say for £30, I'd want to see things like to give you examples, I've been to Airsoft sites where they've used timed or remote detonated explosives or smoke grenades, or they've used military grade smoke grenades to help teams attack and advance or withdraw or whatever. So I would have liked to see something like that in the future. But other than that, I thought it's still a good price to get probably one of the best ran Airsoft sites in the UK. Moving on to the rentals though, so obviously if you are going to Rift for your first ever game, it's an additional £15 and you get access to a G&G CM16. Now that is an AEG, that's a fully automatic weapon, and for those of you who don't want to go and Google it, I'll have a picture of it, but it's basically an M4. And with that you also get 3,000 BBs and a full face mask, so you don't end up with an unwanted spot on your face. So I think that's a fair price for a rental, and I don't know what they were like, 'cause unfortunately on the day we visited, it was actually their 10th anniversary. So all the players of the day were actually like returning players, members of the site coming to obviously take part in the festivities. But that being said, we can make a judgment on the fact that the way the site's ran is really good, so I would assume that the rifles will be in good stead, and the CM16 is a well-known rifle for being a good out-of-the-box starter rifle, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's pretty good. So based on all that, we gave it an 8 out of 10. So now we go to the overall, and now we're going to be able to find out the actual score for our first ever review at Rift ComSite 3. Now, before I get into that, there are a few things I want to mention. I got a chance to speak to Tony briefly post-game, post-thoughts, to ask him a few things about this whole HS2 situation. Now, by the sounds of it, they've really tried to screw him over hard, and Tony is not budging. He is not letting them take him for a ride. He is standing strong, he's standing tall, and he is going to weather the storm. And by the sounds of it, he's 99% through the thick of it, which is brilliant. Because as I said already, and as I think you can already tell, I think Rift is absolutely fantastic. I really do recommend you go there at your first opportunity. Now, that being said, I've got to say, because of the current circumstances and the whole, being pushed into a really claustrophobic parking area, which is also your staging area and your safe zone and blah, 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 yes, it has marred the score a little, so bringing down the score out of 100 a little bit. But I will say, with all the things that Tony is planning on doing post HS2 BS, I would imagine this site is going to be arguably the best site in the UK. Now, I know you're thinking that, Andy, this is your first review. How can you say that? Well, I have been to sites across the UK for the last 15 years. It's just now that I'm doing reviews on them. So I can say that with my hand across my heart and say Rift is a bloody brilliant site. Moving on from that, Tony, I hope you and the guys at Rift, I wish you all the best, and I hope you do pull through this, because we gave you a score of 84 out of 100. Now, again, that's actually a really good score. I was not expecting to give a score that high on my first ever review. Not at all. I was actually expecting myself to be really kind of mean in my reviews because of my job, which I won't go into details about, but part of my job is being really strict when reviewing things, part of what I do. But Rift blew me away. Absolutely fantastic. Marshall's best I've ever seen. Briefing, to the point, clean, concise, and it motivated me to go and enjoy my game day. Absolutely stellar. The site, fun, varied. Playing the games, it uses a great amount of the site, which really complements the gameplay and everything about it. I'm hoping that post HS2, the site will be improved. Tony's telling everyone that he's going to be putting in covered seating areas. The parking is going to be separate and moved away. You're going to have better amenities. I mean, considering they're already giving you hot drinks, cold drinks, cooked food, pyros, BBs, and I've got to also say a big shout out to the guys at White Sphere Tactical. If you want to turn up on the day and buy yourself a gun, whip your batteries into it and just load it up and go and use it for the day, fantastic. You can use a brand new gun on the day, and those guys really know their stuff. So I would also recommend giving them a look. I'll put White Sphere Tactical's link in the description as well. It's a fantastic site. So thank you, Rift, and Tony, and all the folks at Rift for having me and my friends. It was a fantastic day. So that brings the first ever review by Pew Pew Crew to an end. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Obviously, we are very, very fresh at this. So if you have any constructive feedback about how we could do our reviews, please leave a comment in the, on the video, or please go on to Instagram, which again, our Instagram page will be linked in the description, and send us a DM. Obviously, please make it constructive. Don't just tell me I'm ugly. I know. Thank you. Anyway, our next video we are hoping to release at the start of August 2022. That's if I manage to do it before I go on to my honeymoon. Yes, someone actually likes this face. Lucky me. Now, just a reminder on our disclaimer, prior to our visit to Rift, we never told them we were coming. Other than obviously we were going to be attending the game day, we didn't tell them we were coming to the site. We didn't get them to pay for anything for us, like our consumables, our gas, our pyros. We didn't get them to pay for our walk-on. We paid for everything ourselves. That included the fuel to get there in our cars, as well as the walk-on fee. Everything was paid for by us. And totally didn't know I was going to be doing a review of this site until after the game. And that wraps it up. Everyone, thank you very much for watching this video. Again, hope you enjoyed it. If you have any constructive feedback, please leave a comment or follow us on Instagram and send us a DM. But I can't believe I'm going to say this with a straight face, but if you really enjoyed the video and you want to see more reviews we're going to be doing in the future, because at the end of the day, I love making these videos and the guys love going to different airsoft sites, and we love obviously collaborating to do these. Please like and subscribe, but also please stay safe, take your hits, play fair, work as a team, and stay safe.